man. My name's Dalton.
I'm Dylan.
Nice to meet you. Tell me about your Vanagon.
So this is a 1981 Volkswagen Vanagon. My grandparents bought it back in 1988 in Illinois for $7,500. They still have the original bill of sale to this day. They traveled all over the place. They've been to probably half the United States in this thing. It's been back and forth between Wisconsin and Florida. We're all originally from Wisconsin. All of us grandkids got to play in it, camp in it. Kind of just was family Volkswagen, really. When they retired, they ended up basically staying down in St. Pete for good. In 2016, we got a call that our grandparents' Volkswagen was stolen. We were devastated, you know, nothing we can do, we're up in Wisconsin. But they traveled to every Volkswagen show hoping that maybe they'd find it. And unfortunately, just years passed, we figured it was gone. 2019, I ended up moving down here to Florida just to be closer to her and just sick of shoveling snow up north, to be honest. I started racing here at Days City for a while and had my firstborn. I ended up giving up racing, got into Volkswagens, and had a kind of a rat rod Beetle and started following some Facebook pages. And one night I was scrolling Facebook and happened to see a picture that I was like, that's my grandparents' Volkswagen, there's no way. I screenshot the picture, sent it to my dad, and he's like 100%. Called Grandma, I says, Grandma, I think I found your Volkswagen. She's like, no way. I'm like, I swear. And I was like, do you have any of the paperwork? She goes, I got the title, the bill of sale. She goes, I've still got the fabric from the inside of the thing.
Grandma had everything.
I was like, oh my God. So I picked her up Saturday morning. We hauled over there. She was so excited, and we got there, and of course, you know, looked it around, and we took the fabric out of the folder she had, and it matched up. That is in there still to this day. You could tell the VIN plate had been switched out and stuff like that.
So it's been grinded.
Yeah, frame was ground down, so you know that wasn't able to be seen. But I called the cops. They couldn't do much on site just because of the situation. But I got an investigator to look into it. It took about 2 weeks, but I got the call. Hey, it's your grandparents. Come get it. The serial number on the motor tracks back to my grandparents' title. The motor had never been taken out. And there's a few other things that the detective said definitely they're yours, and so it was definitely 100% ours, and got it back. And it's just kind of been a project ever since. And my grandma was crying when I called her, and it was an emotional experience. And unfortunately, my grandpa never got to see it come home. He passed away a year before, and he battled dementia. Even though he had dementia and couldn't remember everything, this is something he always could remember, and it just sucked that he never got to see it come home. But you know, there's been times where I've been looking through the manual, and sure enough, what I'm looking for is underlined. It's like he's been telling me where to look, what to do. So
hey, you need to replace this part, Dylan.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been fun to work on, and this is my first show with it. I did one in Ocala, I guess.
Yep.
But this is the furthest I've driven it since I've gotten it back. And it's running all right. We're doing all right. A few more things we got to tweak out, but you know, I've done some updating. But interior-wise, it's actually in really good shape for years of neglect, I would call it.
All of it is original. I know you redid this.
Yeah, I did the floors because the carpet was pretty ratty, but it would have been the same color as this. This is the light Oogie Boogie.
So the light Oogie Boogie is what Vanagon Man said. There is a dark version too, but he said the light, they no longer reproduce it. So he said, don't even touch it.
Yeah.
Leave it like it is. It's awesome. The wear and tear shows characteristics that it's been through stories and it's been on adventures.
Exactly.
And that's all about it.
Yeah, I redid the sink, didn't have the faucet, the P-trap was gone, everything was kind of wet and damaged, so I replaced all that. Got it kind of working back there. I got to figure out why it's not sucking the water, but it shouldn't be a hard fix. Took the big rusty propane tank off the bottom, running a 1-pound system now, which works out perfect. Both burners work. Me and my buddy put the new canvas up top, so this is all nice and not rotted. Painted it, put new seals on the top. Still got shiny, like brand new paint up there.
There is a secret to getting this out, but we ain't going to discuss that.
Yeah, we were told it was a secret information. I'm not allowed to disclose how to bring the color back out. So.
And he's got the knowledge from the dude.
Yeah, we'll figure that out, get it hopefully pop back to that bright blue that she once was when my grandparents had it. But yeah, this is the material I was talking about earlier. My grandma still has this fabric in a folder. It was so cool that she had it and we brought it there, and even the detective was like, who keeps stuff like that after they do it? And it's just like, my grandma. And then if you look in here, there's a sticker of a Middleton, Wisconsin Volkswagen show that they went to. Just kind of funny little key features that added to us knowing 100% it was definitely my grandparents at one point, you know. Yeah. I guess I'm thankful that my grandparents didn't have insurance when they got stolen, because we were able to get it back and not have to worry about trying to buy it back from insurance.
Yeah.
So it worked out pretty good for us. It's been fun, and like I said, done some updates, but trying to keep it as original as possible.
Now, what'd you do the night before you got here? What'd you have to replace?
It should have been about a 30-minute job to replace the starter. I swear everything I do takes me 6 times as long as it should. I sat underneath it for about 4 or 5 hours replacing a starter. Getting it out was easy, but that bushing in there, whoever designed it, terrible idea. But I ended up just leaving it in there, and it fired up because I was getting that really slow crank and barely starting, and I'm like, I don't want to get stranded. So I figured spend $140 for a new starter, pulled it out, put a new one in. This thing fires up so great now. Yesterday I ran into a group of guys down there with the Vanagons, and they were super knowledgeable, and we just kind of got talking, and I told them my experience. They're like, if you need any help with parts, come get us, man. We've got everything here. I'm like, oh, cool. So this morning when I saw that one of my spark plugs, which was brand new, had no burn, no fuel, nothing, I'm like, oh no, it is running on 3 cylinders, kind of like I thought. I stopped what I was doing. I basically beelined it down to them. I said, guys, is there any chance I get you to help? And they're like, no problem. Started grabbing parts out of their, like, brand new parts, and they're like, could be this, let's bring them. They come up here and they start looking it over, and they're like, I think it's just a simple, you got the bad plugs. They're just NGK. They're just not good for these
Yeah.
Bosch, Germany.
Gotta go with the real deal.
So I still had my older Bosch plugs. He's like, let's throw it back in and fire it up and see how it runs. Fire it up and purrs like a kitten again. He revved it up back there and he goes, that was your problem. I'm like, why would it not have fuel? He goes, man, these things are weird how they operate. But I'm excited and a little bit relieved that I could drive home and hopefully not have to call a tow truck. She's already been towed home once when I first got it back because I blew a tire, of course. The community out here is just so nice.
And it's so awesome that you can just come to a show like this. People can help you.
Yeah.
To where you have the ability to actually make it back home. With
Exactly. I don't know many people in the Volkswagen community really, but I mean, every time I run into somebody or they read the story I've got printed out here on the window for people to view or read when I'm not around, it kind of gives a good idea of what happened and how I got it back. And so it's been cool just to like interact with people that are actually interested in the story. This thing means more to me in sentimental value than anyone could ever offer me cash value, you know. Just getting to take my grandma for rides in it now when she comes and visits, and she's always calling me, what have you done? What's next? What do you got to do next? And you know, she's always interested. And I asked her, I was like, can I redo the floor? Or do you want me to keep it original how you and Grandpa had it? She goes, no, flooring I think would look good. So I put new flooring in, and I think I might change it a little bit. I don't know if I like my trim job I did, but
I think it looks great.
You know, the flooring is beautiful.
Actually really goes well with the color.
Yeah, I've seen people run the slats this way, but the wood grain's going this way.
Yeah.
I did construction years ago, and I feel like running the grain together makes it look much cleaner. You don't want that choppiness in one general area.
The sad thing is when he got it back, it didn't have a long table. So this short table actually goes right there. He said that is the original short table when he was a kid because he remembers his grandfather.
Grandpa drilled the holes and put the duct tape so the black cups wouldn't come out with your drink.
Which is awesome. It's still there. It's still the way how your grandpa had it.
Vanagon man said that was actually an ordered option that not everybody had.
The spice tray.
Rack, which I had no clue, which my grandparents did when we used to camp in it. They did use it as that. I just figured they threw it up there. I never knew that was an option. Another option that I didn't know that wasn't normal is underneath this thing. Maybe more have it than I think, but I was told it's kind of a rare option. It's actually got a gasoline heater you can run off of it. I have since disconnected the T-fitting because I have a 2-year-old that nonstop gets in this thing and pushes and runs buttons. I didn't need fuel going to that and then igniting in the garage when I'm not in there. So I did disconnect it, but I left the heater there in case someday maybe I will take it on a longer trip where it might get cold. But I'm from the north, so I can handle some pretty low temperatures with some blankets.
We need to get the Cinca back on there because it's the same Dove blue as our 82 diesel single cab. It'd be super cool to take pictures with them next to each other, see them cruising on the road.
This dent here was from my grandpa when he shouldn't have been driving anymore. He hit a gas pump leaving. And that was one of the dead giveaways to me that I was like, that's got to be Grandma and Grandpa's, because I wasn't with him that day, but I was at home and he comes home and Grandma's like, look what Grandpa just did. I said, what? He had a gas pump pull. And I'm like, oh, jeez, Grandpa can't be driving no more.
No.
So.
But it's awesome that he's left this way, and James says just leave it.
Yeah.
And I agree. Show the scars. That's the characteristics, the story.
I never really thought about it. I thought, it needed to be restored for people to enjoy it, and after talking to him and you and some other people, like, no, let it have its story. It's just got more story to it, and it was perfect paint when my grandpa had it, a 700 carport, and like I said, he wasn't allowed to drive, but he was always out there washing and waxing, and my grandma would let him drive around the condo complex. She knew he couldn't get in too much trouble, and it was the shiny baby blue, unfortunately.
But you know what I always say? Only original once.
Yes, that is true.
Very true. Yeah, see, you got the slide windows, which is awesome.
Yep, looking for the screens for it. Vanagon man said he had some that I think he'd be willing to part with. I'm hoping, so I'm going to get those. But they do have the repops out of Go Westies, so I figured if I get original frames and make it look, keep the era. So.
And the hinges still got the original coating on them.
So we did do the new seal. We sanded and painted it, but I'll tell you what, I am not a painter. I'm a truck driver, so the paint job ain't the best. But
the stickers, I was curious, were those stickers that you put on there, or those were stickers that were during the process of it being stolen?
So all this sticker stuff. So see here how it's shiny?
Yeah.
So there used to be a sticker here for the condo complex that my grandparents lived in, and that's how they register their vehicle there to park there. Yeah. Someone put another sticker over top it to cover it because they couldn't get it off. So when I peeled it off, I'm like, wait, what's the sticker underneath it? I'm like, there's our condo sticker that would have even further told us, for sure it's theirs. Can't really see it that great. Right here you can see an outline of a sticker. This would have said, move over for motorcycles, and my grandpa put on, they were avid motorcycle riders. They traveled the country in motorcycles and Vanagons. My grandparents had Volkswagens pretty much their whole life until now. I'm 90 years old now. She got a little CRV, but she still loves Volkswagens. She just told me the other day she chased a Volkswagen down just to take a picture. 90 years old.
You have you taken her for a cruise?
Oh yeah. We've gone, and she got a little choked up in it, and she was just smiling. She sat with me at the DMV after we got it all finalized and brought home. 5 hours she sat at the DMV with me just so we could get it rich. Oh yeah, she wasn't leaving until that title said my name. And she said, we come outside outside. She's like, can we take a picture of the title? I'm like, of course, Grandma. And then she wanted to run errands in it. We ended up going to like 4 different stores and filling the entire Bay Area up in there with just stuff we were buying. She's like, we need this and you need that. And we got to buy this. And it's just like, she was having a blast just filling it up.
That's too cool.
We go to start it one of the times and it barely started. She goes, oh, that's time to leave. We got to go home.
That's me and my mother when we're cruising around in the 66 Wannabe, running errands and whatnot. Once they give us a little trouble, she's like, yeah, Dalton, I think we should make it home. I don't really want to be towed home.
No, we don't need to be push starting or something like that. So I'm not a painter, so I just put a little bond on here to try to protect it from rain for now. And it's a temporary fix for now. My buddy, he does paint body work, and he said the best idea is just to pull the whole window out, fix it, and put it back in.
Very true.
Because you get the rust underneath the seal. So it's one of those things that it's not an immediate importance to me right this second. It sits in the garage, so it's safe and hopefully doesn't leave my sight again.
And the hitch, tell me a little bit about the hitch. You said it was welded on?
They did make a hitch for these, but my grandpa ended up welding it off, so it's actually welded to the bumper. I don't know what the towing strength is on it, but yeah, it's been on there even since I was a kid. I remember that, and when I saw it at the car show, it was on there. Unfortunately, when I got it back, it was missing, but I was able to get the parts back from the guy. He was willing to meet up with me, and he was nice with giving me the parts back that were supposed to be on it.
And is the exhaust original?
Not original to the year, but that is what my grandparents had on it.
You still have the same sound that you heard.
Exactly. I remember that. It's down Dad's house. We lived out in the country, and I'd be up on the second floor next to the window watching TV. I could hear it just purr of it coming through the gravel.
The window.
Dude, I was down those stairs running outside the grandma. You know? If I heard that thing leaving, I was so bothered. I'm like, how come they're not going to invite me on this trip? You know, I went everywhere with them as much as I could. You know, back in the day.
It's like, I'm getting good grades.
Yeah.
Better go.
Right? I'm like, you guys are going into town. Coming with you guys. You know, and I knew we probably were going to my aunt's house, and I enjoyed going over there when I was a kid. We went a lot of places in this. Got to go camping up, and we're from Wisconsin, so like Devil's Lake wasn't far for us, and it's a beautiful campground, and so it's just cool to have it back. And this was my first time sleeping in it since I was a kid. I got to sleep in it last night. It just kind of was cool to bring it back to when I was little. So
the cool thing is now your family gets to experience. You guys can go out and you guys can camp as a family just as you camp with your grandparents.
Exactly, yeah. My little guy bounces around in this thing so much. He's out there driving it. You can always tell he does something. You'll turn the key on, all of a sudden the wipers are going. It's like, what did you hit now, Landon? You know?
Continuing a generation for Volkswagen.
Exactly.
Which is awesome.
I'm hoping this thing is still running when he's able to drive it, and I'll let him drive it, because I remember my grandparents taught me how to drive this one when I was like 14 or 15. That was my first time ever driving a manual. These are pretty forgiving transmissions, and like I said, maybe one day my little son will get to drive it when he's able to drive it. Grandpa driving it with this AAA sticker in a photo, and it's still there to this day. That's awesome. So I'm not scraping that off.
And it's still, I'm sure, a part of the AAA family.
Yeah, this is under AAA. That's actually the Blue Tire coming home. It was picked up by AAA.
Yeah, so AAA, come on, sponsor him.
I did replace all of these. They were looking pretty bad, but you got your city water right there, AC electric, which my refrigerator does still work when you hook it up to AC. It's locked right now, but this would be where you dump into your water tank.
Okay.
So if you didn't have an ability to have city water, you could fill your water tank. Vent for your stove, and the stove, like I said, does work, you know. It's awesome meat, let me tell you.
Yeah.
You're not cooking on a hot day, or at least I won't be. I did drop the fuel tank and resealed that. I had to put new brake master in. The reservoir was cracked. Replaced the clutch master, clutch slave cylinder and back. New braided brake lines around all 4 corners. They had that spongy brake. Stops a lot better. Disc in the front, drum in the rear. My grandparents had the Westfalia hubcaps. The guy had them, but he said they were cracked. I'm like, you know what? If you can use them on something, just keep them.
Look at that. So original door panels, original armrest.
Yep,
the
everything
handles.
like this is how it was. You can see here that they had cut the VIN out. They left everything, but they cut the VIN out of it.
Sneaky people.
Yeah.
The VIN was down here.
Underneath this, you can see the 2 rivet holes. Obviously, you don't have the original VIN plate anymore, and they can't keep the, I guess I'd call it the fake one. So they had to pop it off, but it's got a reassigned VIN. I have all the paperwork for that, and the new VIN's been placed elsewhere. Corresponds to my paperwork. So if you look at the odometer, it's showing 89,000 miles. So at 129,000 miles, my grandparents' speedometer stopped working. They got a new one out of a guy out of California that they bumped into. He said he had one, sent him a new one. This one has since stopped working at 89,000. I don't know how long it's been stopped. So
what should be on it? Estimate.
I would assume this thing's probably got at least 250,000 on the body. I know it's the original motor because the serial number definitely comes back to my grandparents. It's definitely got some miles. I was telling you last night, I was trying to look for a relay underneath the driver's seat to do the secondary battery. I ended up finding 2 magazines from 1996 out of Kentucky for a quilting show my grandparents went to, and I took a picture, sent her. She goes, well, looks like we're in Kentucky for a show. I don't know.
Probably got that fabric.
Possibly, you never know. So it was just kind of funny to find something that was my grandparents. They were definitely on a trip again. Like I said, this thing was probably at least a dozen times from Wisconsin to Florida until they finally moved permanently down there. I never did get to drive down and back with them in this. They had a full-size camper as well. I did take a trip in that with them, and that had to have been the most fun road trip I've ever experienced. Those 2 are a hoot to be with, you know?
So some of the roads that you have driven on now, they have driven on many, many years ago.
Most definitely.
That is
yeah,
awesome.
most definitely. So there's a lot of stories in this thing. And
original radio?
It is, it doesn't work. I would assume that's original. I do remember it being like that when I was little. Here you can see 2 holes. There would have been a compass there. So when I was talking to the cops when I showed up that day, I said, those 2 holes right there, you can see in the photo clearly, based on where the window's at, middle of the dash, there was something screwed in there. I said, there's 2 holes. That's where the compass would have been. My grandparents had like one of those floating compasses.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I'd like to find one. I don't need it because we all have GPS on our phones.
Yeah,
but for just to bring it back, you know,
purposes.
the fan's still in here. That's what my grandparents had in. There's a black one back here, and there's a blue one in the back.
Your grandparents were getting cool by that fan, and it's still there.
Yeah,
After being
and it still works too.
awesome.
They both still work. This is the button for the fan right there, the black knob. I did put the rubber mats in. My grandparents, they had rubber mats in it, but they were like more of a flat style.
Okay, and you wanted something that had a little bit of a grip.
Yeah, just if I had water, kind of collect it.
Boy, if this thing could tell some stories, it would tell some stories.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. It's still the original headrest and whatnot. Original top from when you were young.
I did replace the mirrors. I believe when I got it back, they were the original, but they were just like floppy.
Yeah.
Every bump they would move. They were electrical
Gotta be
tape.
able to see.
Yeah, so I was like, you know what? Let me go get these. These are pretty nice. They're, you know, from Go Westies. They fold in. They're heavy duty.
I think Go Westie needs to sponsor you.
I've got a
Links
lot of
down
their
in the
parts.
description.
They've got a lot of parts in this thing. That and Bus Depot have been great for getting parts and just trying to figure out what I need next. It's been great.
You need a few sponsors, for sure.
I do. It'd be helpful, that's for sure. It's been great meeting people too, just like them telling me some stuff I need to do next or where to get parts from. And like I said, running down to those guys, and 4 of them come up here with parts in hands, ready to work on this thing. And they just checked a couple things and fired right up, and they're like, that's how it should run. And I'm like,
awesome.
God, it was such a simple fix, but I just was panicking. I'm like, I got to make it an hour ride home.
Hey, that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah, it's open door policy area. You need help? I'm on my way. Make her run like she should, man.
Yeah, so I can get home tonight.
Yes, exactly.
What's this?
You know what? I'm not sure. They were there
It's
when
on the other side too, I know.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is there were CB antenna holders. I could be very wrong, but I do remember them as a kid, but I don't ever remember them doing anything with them.
Comment down below, what is this?
Yeah. It did have the original awning, the rail still there.
And that was taken
Unfortunately, it was sitting inside the Vanagon with 2 bikes, tools, and parts. When it got stolen, obviously everything went. Never got any of that back. It'd be really cool to get an awning that fits that rail, but if I don't, I know ARB makes one. 2 vehicles down, they've got one, and it looks really sturdy.
Just what an awesome story. Thank you so much, man.
I appreciate you coming over here and talking to me. It's been great. Getting to talk to you last night for a bit too.
Speaking of last night, we were up until 12 talking about Volkswagens.
Tons of stories, how we got into them and stuff like that. Yesterday was a blast. Today is good. I don't know that she'll win an award, but it's just cool to finally enter it, be in it, and stay in it for the night again. So it's just fun to be around all these people. So
I think it's really cool that you get to still show your grandmother and it's still kicking.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Dylan.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Love the 81 Vanagon.
Thank you, man.
See you around, man.
All right, have a good one.